Revealed, the incredible transformation of a hidden heiress and her life-changing decision. Grace Thompson stood at the counter of the diner, a steaming cup of coffee in her hand, her heart racing as she caught sight of Eli, her spirited son, joyfully chasing a stray cat outside. The warmth of the diner enveloped her, echoing with laughter and the familiar clinking of dishes, though today felt different. The usual comfort of Southern hospitality was suddenly overshadowed by anxiety. A letter had arrived, stirred by fate. When it landed on her doorstep, it felt like the world. It bore her late grandmother's elegant handwriting, a relic from a time when Grace had fish out of water in her family's lavish world. The riches she had sworn to leave behind now beckoned her with an allure she couldn't ignore, a hidden fortune that could change everything. Her thoughts drifted to her regulars, the townsfolk who had become her makeshift family. They were the ones that helped her move on after the tumultuous separation from her wealthy family. They celebrated every triumph with her, bonding over church potlucks and neighborhood barbecues, sharing each other's burdens and laughter, as though they were one. She felt a rush of gratitude toward them, yet a part of her grappled with the weight of her unexpected legacy. "Hey, Grace, guess what today is?" shouted Marlene, a cheerful regular, breaking her thoughts. Grace forced a smile, trying to drown out the whispers of uncertainty. "It's National Fried Chicken Day. You know what that means." Laughter erupted into the air, lightening her heart for a moment. Yet, the letter burrowed back into her mind. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. In the days that followed, the letter pressed on her chest like a heavy stone, revealing dark truths about her family's wealth entangled with injustice. Grace staggered through doubts, her heart torn between acceptance and rejection. Torn between a flashy legacy and her humble existence, she found herself staring in disbelief at her estranged mother, an intimidating reminder of privilege. "Are you really going to throw this away?" her mother sneered, disappointment leaking from every word as they confronted the remnants of their fractured relationship. The shadows of family pride loomed large, and it was in that moment, surrounded by whispers and judgment of neighbors, she felt the full weight of her choice. The diner became the battleground, conversations growing heated as debates on merit versus privilege escalated within the shared walls that had once felt like safety. Every face bore witness to her struggle. A community that once lifted her up now turned their eyes, measuring her worth by the fortune she had done nothing to earn. She felt their gaze, heavy and piercing. Yet the more they judged, the more she remembered the faces of those she served, the burdens they carried, and the cries for justice that echoed in her mind. As she locked eyes with Eli, a flicker of hope ignited. Her decision mounted, her heart pounding louder than ever. Would she embrace this unearned wealth or stand for the values she had fought so hard to uphold? The tension crackled, leading her to a crossroads where her identity hung in the balance: rich heiress or champion of her community. One question remained unanswered, lingering in the air like the aroma of biscuits and gravy. Would Grace choose newfound riches or dare to pave a new path that elevated not just herself, but everyone around her? The days turned into a blur of tense conversations and sleepless nights. Grace tried to focus on her work, serving up plates with practiced ease, but her mind was miles away. Each clink of a fork against porcelain was a reminder of the choices weighing down her heart. The diner buzzed with life, but Grace felt isolated, locked in an internal battle point. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows over the diner, Eli bounded in, his smile lighting up the room. "Mom, I caught the cat. Can we keep it?" His excitement was contagious. Grace couldn't help but smile, her heart lightening for just a moment. The stray cat rubbed against her leg, purring, as if sensing her turmoil and wanting to offer comfort. "Maybe, buddy. We'll see," she managed, ruffling his hair. But even the warmth of his affection couldn't quiet the rising doubts. Each purr felt like a tiny reminder of the life she was about to alter. Later that evening, Grace found herself outside, sitting on the worn steps of the diner, the cool evening air a reprieve from the weight of her thoughts. She gazed at the stars, twinkling in the vast expanse above, and thought about the big dreams she had for Eli. Dreams that didn't hinge on money, but on integrity and happiness. The crunch of gravel returned her to reality. It was Marlene, carrying a couple of takeout boxes. "Thought you might want a bite," she said, smiling softly. "Thanks, Marlene. You always know how to lighten the load." Sitting beside her, Marlene noticed the tension in Grace's shoulders. "What's going on? You look like you've seen a ghost." Grace hesitated, then sighed. "I got this letter from my grandmother. It's about an inheritance, money I never wanted." Marlene didn't react with shock. "And now it's a burden?"
Exactly. I fel ton.
"I've built a life being proud of what I have and who I've become, yet here's this wealth it feels like a pull back to a past I didn't want." Marlene considered her words. "Grace, you stand for so much in this town. You've shown love, empathy, and care not just to Eli but to everyone. Remember, it's not the money that defines who you are. It's how you choose to use it. Maybe it's not about taking the money for yourself, but finding a way to help." Those words struck home. What if she could use this fortune to uplift others, to support her community, just as they supported her? The idea lit a spark within her, igniting a warmth that chased away the shadows of doubt. As they shared a quiet moment, the weight began to shift. Perhaps this wasn't just about her, it was about the people she loved, about Eli, and the town that had raised her. But even with hope on the horizon, she knew the hardest conversations were yet to come. The next morning, she stood in front of the diner, sun rising behind her, illuminating the path ahead. Eli played on the sidewalk, his laughter ringing clear, like a siren call to her senses. She felt a fire beginning to burn, her heart racing as possibilities flooded her mind. What if she spoke openly with her community? What if she took a stand, voiced her intentions openly, and made them part of the journey? One step at a time, she whispered to herself. But as she took a deep breath, she couldn't shake the feeling that her mother would not take this news well. The fear of her mother's judgment hung in the air, heavy and charged. And just then, she spotted her mother's car pulling into the diner's lot. A knot twisted in her stomach. Would this be the confrontation that would define everything? Would she stand her ground? The moment of truth was upon her. Would Grace embrace the choice before her, turning a hidden fortune into an opportunity to transform her community? Or would reclaiming her past tear her future apart? As her mother stepped out of the car, Grace felt her heart race. The time had come to face her fears and her destiny. Grace felt her heart pounding, a wild rhythm echoing within her chest. The moment was so charged, she could almost hear the weight of her dreams colliding with reality. Her mother stepped out of the car, eyes glinting like shards of ice beneath the morning sun. The familiar mix of love and tension surged between them. "Grace," her mother called, voice steady yet filled with unspoken concern. "We need to talk." Taking a deep breath, Grace stepped forward, every word full of purpose. "Mom, I got the letter about Grandma's inheritance." Her mother's expression shifted, a flicker of disbelief crossing her face. "You're serious?" "Yes," Grace replied, trying to keep her voice calm. "And I want to do something with it. Something good." The silence that followed was thick, charged with the history and expectations that seemed to swirl around them. Her mother's brow creased, worry etched into her features. "You know that money comes with strings, Grace. It ties you to a family you've tried to detach from. It can complicate everything. But I can use it to help." Grace pressed, her voice growing stronger. "I want to build something for our community, to give back to the town that has given us so much." Her mother hesitated, eyes narrowing slightly. "And what will that mean for us? For you and Eli?" The knot in Grace's stomach twisted tighter. "It means investing in our future, in a way that we have control over. Eli deserves to grow up in a place where people care for each other. Money doesn't have to tear us apart, Mom. It can unite us. Her mother's gaze softened, but the doubt lingered. You must be careful. Some may not see your intentions as noble. There will always be someone wanting more, wanting to take from you. I know, Grace said, heart pounding with fear and determination. But I believe in our community. We can make it better, not just for us but for everyone. Her mother's eyes flickered with a hint of uncertainty. It sounds like you've made up your mind. I'm trying to, Grace said, voice quivering. But I need you with me. If I'm going to take this step, I want us to do it as a family. To stand together against any judgment. The silence loomed between them, heavy with conflicting emotions. Grace searched her mother's face, hoping to find encouragement. She could see the struggle, the desire to protect her daughter entwined with the fear of losing everything she had worked to construct. Finally, her mother sighed deeply, the tension in her shoulders relaxing just slightly.
All right.
But promise me you won't rush into things blind. We'll figure it out together. A wave of relief poured over Grace, tears pricking at the corners of her eyes.
Thank you, Mom.
This means everything. As they turned to walk into the diner, the door swung open, and the world seemed brighter. Outside, Eli's laughter danced on the wind, a beacon of hope. They stepped inside, not just into a diner but into a new chapter of family and purpose. But behind those warm feelings lingered an unsettling thought. What challenges would arise once they made their intentions public? How would the community react to her sudden shift in fortune? As the bell chimed above the diner door, signaling a new customer, Grace felt the energy shift. A pit formed in her stomach. They had barely scratched the surface of the journey ahead. Little did she know, that first step would lead to greater obstacles than she ever imagined. How would her friends, her neighbors, even strangers in town accept her new role? The air buzzed with possibilities and uncertainties, and as Grace glanced around, she realized they were just lingering at the edge of something monumental. What awaited them just beyond the horizon? The answers were closer than they thought but cloaked in shadows. Would they be ready to face the truth that came next? Grace settled into a corner booth, the familiar sense of brewed coffee and fried bacon swirling around her. The diner was alive with chatter and clinking dishes, but her mind was elsewhere, spinning with the weight of what lay ahead. She watched her mother take a seat across from her, the worry lines on her face still etched deep. Do you really think the community will embrace this? Her mother asked, mixing cream into her coffee absent-mindedly. I have to believe they will, Grace replied, her voice catching slightly. If I can rally a few people behind my ideas, it could start a wave. We can really make a difference. Her mother nodded, but the doubt didn't fully fade. Grace could feel every hesitation in her heart. She glanced out the window, watching Eli chase after a butterfly, his laughter ringing like music. He was innocent and blissfully unaware of the storm brewing around them. The thought filled her with warmth and determination. What if, her mother began, her voice low, what if they see you as just a spoiled heiress? Money doesn't win you loyalty or friends. Grace sighed, stirring her quickly cooling coffee. It's not about the money. I want to do this because it's what's right. I want to honor Grandma's memory. She believed in giving back. Her mother's gaze softened slightly, yet the tension in her shoulders returned. Just be careful, Grace. Your heart is bigger than most, and I worry you'll get hurt. Before Grace could respond, the door swung open with creaking hinges, and a group of local teenagers burst in, laughter spilling into the diner. Grace's stomach tightened. She recognized them from school. They were popular, but they had a knack for bullying those who stood out. One of the boys spotted her, his eyes lighting up with mischief. Look, it's the rich heiress. He called out with a smirk, drawing the attention of his friends. What have you decided to buy us all with your newfound fortune? The laughter that followed felt like the snap of a twig in her chest. Grace forced a smile, hoping it would mask the wave of hurt crashing inside her. She could feel her mother's eyes on her, watchful, protective, concerned. Why don't you all just step outside for a second? Her mother interjected, her tone sharp, breaking the levity in the room. The kids paused, surprised by her authority. For a moment, the diner fell silent, anxiety rippling through. "You don't get to come in here and make her feel small," her mother added, glaring at them with fierce intensity. The tension hung in the air, palpable. Grace felt a rush of gratitude for her mother's fierce defense, yet the embarrassment clung to her like a second skin. "Mom, it's okay," she said softly, trying to ease the situation. "I can handle it." They looked at her, curiosity mixed with cautious respect. Maybe they were thinking differently now, but doubt lingered like a shadow in Grace's heart. Would they really change? As they shuffled outside, Grace wrestled with emotions. It was already starting. Her initial intentions were being twisted into something messy. She wasn't just an heiress. She wanted to be a force for good. But the path was growing harder. "Are you all right?" Her mother's voice was laced with concern as the door swung shut behind the group of teenagers. "Just working through it," Grace replied, brave but shaken. As they sat in quiet reflection, Grace made a silent promise. She wouldn't let the whispers of doubt define her. She stood, her voice steady. "Mom, I think we need to hold a meeting. I want to get community members together to share my vision. The time for action is now." Her mother's eyes widened slightly, surprised by the spark in Grace's voice. "Are you sure?" "I am." There was newfound strength in her resolve, but fear lurked just beneath the surface. "It's time to face whatever comes next." The diner buzzed around them, life continuing as if they hadn't just faced a small tempest. Yet, buried within Grace was a question that nagged at her. What if her attempt at unity unraveled into chaos instead? As she prepared to step out towards the unknown, she caught a glimpse of Eli with the butterfly again, and it gave her pause. Taking a deep breath, she whispered to herself, "I won't back down." What would happen when she did bring everyone together? Would it cultivate support, or would it explode into something much darker? She had no way of knowing, but one thing was clear. The path ahead was fraught with challenges, and Grace was ready to leap into the fray. The bell over the diner's door jingled as Grace stepped outside, the cool air hitting her like a splash of cold water. She took a moment to collect herself, feeling the gravity of the moment settling in her bones. The vibrant town square buzzed with afternoon energy, kids playing, a few neighbors chatting on porches, and cars lazily rolling down the street. But all she could think about was that meeting. Her heart began to race, a mix of excitement and dread. "Hey, Grace." A familiar voice called out. It was Sam, a classmate she often studied with. He approached with an easy grin, bright against the tension swirling in her chest. "What's up? You look like you've seen a ghost." "Just a lot on my mind," she replied, forcing a smile. "You still planning that community meeting?" he asked, genuine curiosity in his eyes. Grace had shared snippets of her vision with him in the past, but now she could feel the weight of it more than ever. "Yeah, I am. I need to rally support for something big," she admitted. "I just hope people show up." "They will," Sam assured her, "if they believe in what you're trying to do." His confidence felt like a balm to her anxiety. She appreciated his faith. "Thanks, Sam," Grace said, her spirits lifting a little. "I just hope it's enough." As they parted ways, she found herself walking toward the small community center, a place that felt both welcoming and daunting. She had spent so many afternoons there during her childhood, but this time was different. This time, she was stepping in not as a carefree girl but as a leader trying to embrace a vision that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Inside, she found the room empty, save for a few folding chairs and a stack of pamphlets she had printed. Her mind raced as she arranged them on a table, each one a step toward a hopeful future. But doubts creeped in like shadows. Who would really care what she had to say? Would the people she wanted to help even listen? The door creaked open, interrupting her thoughts. It was Mrs. Thompson, the elderly woman who had volunteered at the center for years. Her presence radiated warmth, and Grace felt a wave of relief wash over her. "Grace, dear, is this where the meeting will be?" she asked, gliding in with a reassuring smile.
"Yes,"
Grace said, her voice brighter now. "I just need to get the word out more. I'll help," Mrs. Thompson offered without hesitation. "I know a few people who would love to come." "You shine with passion, dear. That's contagious." As Grace set out to plan, more faces started to trickle in, some familiar, others brand new. Each one sparked a flicker of hope. She felt it building inside her, a kind of electricity that hinted maybe this was possible. Maybe she could turn the tide. Then, just as the energy was rising, the door swung open again. It was the same group of teenagers from the diner, laughter piercing through the air. Her heart dropped. When they spotted her, it was like a switch flipped. The mirth faded, replaced by that unmistakable edge of cruel humor that had haunted her in school. "What's this? The charity case is open for business?" one of the boys called out. Grace froze, the weight of their gaze heavy. She glanced at Mrs. Thompson, who stood her ground, her expression one of calm defiance. Grace swallowed hard, grappling with the impulse to retreat. But then she thought of Eli chasing that butterfly, and the promise she made to herself. "Who cares what you think?" she said, her voice stronger than she felt. "I'm here to help people. If you don't want to be part of that, fine, but don't think you can stop me." Silence filled the room like a curtain falling. The kids exchanged glances, confusion, surprise, maybe respect, but there was no way to predict their next move. As they lingered in the doorway, Grace's heart pounded. Would this challenge push her vision away or draw people together like she had hoped? When she looked around at those who had shown up for her, the mix of fear and courage renewed her resolve. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was about a community standing together. Just as she began her opening remarks, she sensed a shifting in the atmosphere. Would this become a space of healing or a battlefield? The tension crackled like dry leaves in the wind, and Grace knew that she was on the precipice of something transformative, for better or worse. What would happen next? Would her boldness inspire unity, or would it create a fracture that was beyond repair? The pulse of change thrummed in her heart, but uncertainty loomed large. As Grace took a deep breath, she stood taller, her resolve crystallizing under the curious gazes. The air was thick with anticipation, and for a moment, she could almost believe that she could turn fear into strength. "Thank you all for coming," Grace began, her voice steadier now. "I know this isn't easy, but I believe we have a chance to make our community a better place." Glancing towards the back, she caught sight of the teenagers. Their sneering expressions momentarily shattered her focus. But she pressed on, determined not to let them derail her. She shared her vision of an inclusive park renovation, a safe space where kids could play and families could gather, a place that would represent hope for a brighter future. She detailed how the park could support local businesses and provide jobs, bringing a much-needed revitalization to their small town. Passion ignited her words, and she could see flickers of interest among her audience as they leaned forward, some whispering to one another. Her eyes found Mrs. Thompson, whose nod of encouragement fueled Grace's fire. The elderly woman's kind smile reminded her why she had embarked on this journey in the first place. This was more than a meeting. This was a call for community. But then, as she watched the teenagers shift, a new voice emerged from the back. It was Maddie, a girl from school, always bubbly, yet often overlooked in the chaos of social cliques. "I think it's a great idea, Grace," she said, her tone bright against the tension. "I'd help with the designs if you need it." The room hesitated, surprise replacing the earlier mockery. Grace felt her heart lighten. If Maddie believed in this, surely others would too. Her confidence bloomed further, and she opened the floor for ideas. Slowly, hands began to rise. Voices broke through the initial silence, suggestions, offerings of help, even a few shared stories of local memories made at the park. With each sentence spoken, the atmosphere shifted, transforming hostility into collaboration. Grace could hardly believe what she was witnessing, a group of people, once strangers or rivals, becoming allies. But as the optimism surged, the lingering presence of the teens reminded her that not everyone was on board. "This is a waste of time," one of the boys said, breaking into her moment of triumph. "You honestly think anyone cares about a stupid park?" Her heart sank for a moment as the laughter spread among the group. Was it all for nothing? Had she pushed too hard? Just then, she spotted Eli, a little boy from down the street, standing by the door with wide, hopeful eyes the very image of innocent belief. In that instant, she realized the stakes were far greater than her insecurities. It was about kids like Eli who deserved better. "No, it's not stupid," Grace countered, her voice now unwavering. "It's about creating a space where every kid can feel safe and happy. If that doesn't matter to you, you're the one missing out." Her heartbeat echoed in her ears, but she held onto the conviction pressing forward. The boy opened his mouth again, but before he could speak, Maddie chimed in. "If you're not interested, don't ruin it for those who are. We're trying to make a change here." The support spread like a wave, warming the icy air in the room. Grace felt a weight lift as others joined in, defending her efforts and sharing their own visions. Each supportive word poured light into her day, igniting friendships where there had been tension. This wasn't just a meeting, it was a turning point, but she knew they weren't out of the woods yet. Would the naysayers accept this new collaboration? And would everyone stay united when the real work began? The mingling conversations buzzed with hope and energy, but lurking doubts whispered in the back of her mind. As Grace looked around at the faces now filled with determination, including some of those who had mocked her only moments before, she pondered what would happen when the scheduled workdays came. She took a sip of water, the coolness refreshing but insufficient to calm her racing heart.
The
turning point had presented itself. But the challenge was just beginning. What would it take to maintain this fragile bond? And would they truly be able to see past their differences when they faced obstacles ahead? The next meeting loomed ahead, and Grace felt the pressure mounting. It was one thing to ignite excitement in a public gathering, but would anyone show up when the reality of hard work settled in? She spent sleepless nights visualizing the park, imagining laughter mingling with joy under the shade of trees. But uncertainty clouded her visions. On the morning of the meeting, she walked into the community center, clutching a stack of flyers. The scent of fresh coffee filled the air, but it didn't calm her nerves. What if nobody came? She couldn't shake the memory of those teenage boys laughing, their mockery still echoing in her mind like a haunting refrain. As she sat up, a trickle of familiar faces emerged. First was Mrs. Thompson, who approached with a slice of her signature apple pie. "For inspiration," she said, a wink in her eye. Then came Maddie, her enthusiasm unmatched. "I brought some sketches." She beamed, revealing several colorful designs that captured the essence of the park. Grace's heart swelled. If Maddie could believe in this, maybe others would too. By the time the meeting was about to start, the room was filled with almost half of the people who had attended last time. Comforting laughter and quiet conversations flitted through the air. Each face bore the marks of doubt but also of hope. Even the teenagers were there, lingering at the back with half-smirks, eyes glinting with curiosity. "Thank you for being here," Grace said, her voice still shaky but fueled by determination. She stepped forward, gesturing to Maddie as sketches displayed on an easel. "Today, we're going to dive deeper into how we can make this dream a reality." She felt a rush of excitement when she saw the interest bloom in their eyes. Conversation sparked, hands flew up with questions and suggestions. They discussed colors for benches, safe play areas, and planting flowers. Each contribution wrapped Grace in a blanket of unity. But amidst this warmth, a niggling doubt still pricked at her. Could they handle adversity when push came to shove? Just then, the boy who had scoffed at her last time stood up. His expression was serious, no trace of the mocking grin. "So, imagine all this actually happens. What then?" He crossed his arms, challenging yet vulnerable. Grace took a breath. "Then we build a community, and this park reminds us we can create beautiful spaces together. It's about more than just grass and swings. It's about joy and hope." The crowd erupted in murmurs, some nodding in agreement. But doubt wove itself through the whispers, a stray thread that threatened to unravel their budding unity. She glanced at the boy again. "What do you think? Would it mean something to you?" For a heartbeat, silence reigned. He shrugged, but his eyes betrayed curiosity. "I guess so. But it's going to take work, and not everyone is going to be committed." That stung. Grace knew he was right. She felt the weight of that truth settle around her. Could they really remain steadfast in the face of challenges, or would their fragile alliance fall apart under pressure? She swallowed hard, looking around the room. Every face counted. Every voice mattered. You're right. It will take work. But this will only happen if we support each other. If we stand strong together. Grace sensed the shift. Others began to echo her thoughts, affirming their commitment. An unexpected warmth unfolded as Mrs. Thompson chimed in. Let us make it a community event. We can have bake sales and fun runs to raise funds. The momentum surged. Ideas built off one another like a wave, growing into something tangible and full of energy. Grace felt a rising tide of hope swell inside her chest, filling the void of uncertainty. But then, as laughter and chatter floated around her, the boy spoke again. So what if some loser from school tries to ruin it? What's the plan then? At that moment, Grace realized that while they had taken a crucial step forward, the real work was far from over. How would they handle the naysayers when the first shovel hit the dirt? The air buzzed with excitement, yet the shadows of doubt still lingered in the corners of her mind. How could they protect their budding community from negativity when the hard work started? As she left the meeting, a mixture of hope and trepidation twisted in her gut. They had come so far, yet the path ahead was rocky. Would she have what it takes to lead them through the storm? What would happen when the laughter faded and the doubts returned? The days following the meeting felt like a whirlwind. A mix of hope and anxiety danced in Grace's stomach as she tried to channel the energy from that day into action. The community's enthusiasm was palpable, but how long could it last? Every morning, she would wake up early and head to the park site, her senses buzzing with possibility. She took deep breaths, savoring the crisp air and the sound of birds chirping. Yet, it didn't take long for the doubts she had shoved aside to come creeping back. Each new thought spiraled into vivid memories of past failures, moments when she had put herself out there and gotten hurt. That Saturday morning, she met Maddie by the park's entrance. With a big grin, Maddie clutched a folder brimming with plans and sketches. I thought we could start with a clean-up day. A chance for everyone to pitch in. Grace loved the idea. Together, they began averaging a few phone calls and posts on social media. News of their cleanup day spread quickly, and soon, they were flooded with messages of support. It felt like a dream, a far cry from the mocking laughter that haunted her. However, the night before the cleanup, Grace found herself unable to sleep. She tossed and turned, replaying the boy's words in her mind. What if someone did try to ruin their hard work? What if that same energy that blossomed could just as easily turn to resentment? As dawn broke, she pushed herself out of bed, refusing to let anxiety win. The sun peeked through the window, painting a golden hue across her room. Today was a new day, a chance to reclaim some joy and spark hope. When Grace arrived at the park, she was taken aback. A crowd began to gather, a vibrant mix of people she had never seen before. Friends, family, and even those curious teens stood together, united by something bigger than themselves. Each one carried gloves, trash bags, or rakes, eager to lend a hand. Maddie, Grace called out, and her friend rushed over with excitement.
Look.
This is amazing. They spent the day digging together, filling bags with litter, planting flowers, and laughing. Mrs. Thompson brought coffee and treats to keep spirits high, and the chatter turned to animated discussions about more features for the park. But amid the flurry of joy, the boy from the last meeting appeared, standing quietly at the back. Grace's heart raced. She watched him watch them, the doubt still apparent in his eyes.
Hey.
Grace called as she approached. "Want to help?" He hesitated, then shrugged.
Sure.
"But I don't really see how this is going to change anything." Grace felt a surge of determination, her voice unwavering. "It changes everything. You see, this is about more than just a park. It's about coming together, supporting each other." Her voice trailed off, searching his face for understanding, and showing that we can create our own space, one step at a time. As they worked side by side, Grace hoped he could see what she saw: the lively community they were building together. The laughter, the shared effort. It meant they were fighting back against the negativity that so easily could have silenced them, Before long, the cleanup day ended, and the park bore the marks of their hard work. Sweat glistened on their brows, and smiles lit every face. Yet as they gathered to pose for a group photo, a reminder of the task ahead loomed. Would they have the strength to withstand the challenges that lay ahead as they moved toward building something more permanent? Grace glanced toward the horizon, feeling both a wave of energy and a tingle of fear. Would they stay united in their efforts when the real work began? The thrill of their accomplishment surged through the air, but a weight remained. Could they overcome the storms that were bound to come? The answer loomed just out of reach. What awaited them on the path to transform their shared dream into a concrete reality? The air buzzed with a mix of excitement and uncertainty as the sun slowly dipped toward the horizon. Grace stood with her friends, surrounded by the laughter and chatter of their small community. While they enjoyed the fruits of their labor, a tiny ember of doubt still smoldered in her heart. What about tomorrow? Maddie, what's next? Grace asked, a hint of concern edging her voice. Maddie, wiping her brow, beamed back. Now, we plan the playground. We'll need to raise more funds too, but look at all these people. They're ready to help. At that moment, Grace noticed the boy again, standing a little closer this time. He seemed lost among the bustling crowd, his gaze distant. Something stirred within her. Was he beginning to understand? Before she could think twice, she approached him. Hey, I know you don't see the vision yet, she said cautiously. But what if you helped us plan? Your perspective matters. He looked up, surprised. Why would I want to do that? It's just a park, right? It's more than that, she insisted, feeling her passion surge. We're building a place where kids can play, where we can all come together. Don't you want a place you can feel proud of, a place that's really ours? For a moment, Grace thought she saw a flicker of interest in his eyes. I dunno, he muttered, but his tone was softer. Why don't you join us for our next planning session? We could use your ideas, and maybe even your worries. He shifted his feet, contemplating, and Grace held her breath, hoping he would say yes.
Fine.
I'll think about it, he finally replied, though she could hear the uncertainty mixed with curiosity. A wave of relief washed over Grace. Perhaps there was a path forward for him, and in turn, for her. As she returned to the cheers of her friends, she felt a spark of optimism ignite within her. Each small conversation, every new face that joined them, was a step away from distrust and toward community. The next week came too quickly. Grace felt the weight of responsibility settle heavier on her shoulders. They gathered in Maddie's living room, spreading out blueprints and discussing ideas in a flurry of voices. But as the meeting wrapped up, Maddie paused, turning serious. We need to talk about funding. I mean, this isn't going to happen without money. That word loomed large, filled with implications. What if they faced rejection? What if their dreams unraveled under the weight of harsh reality? Grace took a deep breath, grounding herself. Let us think positively. It's possible. They resolved to host a community fundraiser, hoping to draw in more support. Days turned into nights as they plastered flyers around town and posted online, urging everyone to come together. As the event drew close, doubts crept back in. What if not enough people showed? What if they failed? Late one night, staring at her reflection, Grace whispered to herself, "You can do this." But deep inside, a crack of fear remained. The night of the fundraiser arrived. The community center swelled with chatter and laughter. Grace stood by the entrance, greeting familiar faces and newcomers. But as the hours passed, her heart sank, watching the crowd fluctuate. What felt like a small triumph in numbers turned into dread as she noticed the boy again, now talking with others, arms crossed, a skeptical look etched on his face. What would he say when the dust settled? As the evening wound down, Grace had a moment alone, stepping outside to collect her thoughts. The crickets chirped loudly in the silent night, their calls loud against the backdrop of her racing mind. Then she sensed someone beside her. "Hey," the boy said, glancing out at the parking lot. "How do you think it's going? Does he actually care?" She wondered. "It's good," she replied slowly, gauging her words. "But I know we need more than just tonight. We need to show that we're all in this together." Why do you keep fighting for it? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. His question hung in the air, so heavy and profound. Grace turned toward him, searching for the right words. She thought about all the faces they encountered, all the moments of connection. Because if we don't fight, nothing will change, and that's not good enough for me. In that moment, something shifted. But as they stood together in the night, a shadow crossed her mind. What if this was just the beginning of a much bigger battle? What unforeseen challenges awaited them next? Grace woke up the next morning feeling the heaviness of a new day. The sun streamed through her window, but instead of warmth, it felt like an ominous spotlight on her next steps. The fundraiser had been a mixed bag, with some successes mixed with a lingering sense of doubt. Would they be able to raise enough funds? Would the community really rally behind her vision? The uncertainties swirled like leaves in the wind. With a deep breath, she got up. Today was the day they would plan ahead, not just for the park, but for a movement that could reshape the town. Facing Eli as he finished breakfast, she felt a swell of inspiration. "You ready for another day of adventure, buddy?" she asked, ruffling his hair. Eli's laughter was pure, a light that threatened to chase away her worries. Later that afternoon, she gathered with Maddie and a few others in the community center for another planning session. "We need to focus on not only raising money but building support both for the park and our mission as a community," Grace asserted, her voice infused with determination. Maddie nodded enthusiastically, flipping through her notes. But as they brainstormed, the boy who had initially mocked Grace walked in. The room grew still, eyes darting between him and her. "Hey, can I join?" he asked, a hint of hesitation in his tone. Grace felt the warmth of unexpected optimism. "Absolutely. We could use your ideas." He slid into a chair, crossing his arms but opening his ears. As discussions rolled on, something shifted in the atmosphere. The room filled with laughter and energetic exchanges. Grace shared the importance of their shared vision for the community, the idea that the park would unite rather than divide, a space where their kids could play side by side, one filled with possibilities for the future. "There's a place for everyone in this project," she said, locking eyes with the boy. "Even if we have different opinions. That's what a community is, people coming together despite their differences." To her surprise, he nodded as others chimed in, with ideas flowing back and forth like an exhilarating breeze. Then, during a planning break, the boy glanced at her. "You really believe this can change something, huh?" "I know it can," she replied sincerely. "I believe in our collective potential." The words hung between them like a promise. Weeks passed, and as their efforts grew, the park became a collective heartbeat of a town. More people pitched in, from local artists donating murals to volunteers showing up with heavy machinery. Grace felt the momentum build like a wave ready to crest. But with more attention came more scrutiny. As they prepared for the park's opening celebration, whispers snaked through the town. Some praised their hard work, while others questioned Grace's motives, unsure of how a surprise heiress could truly appreciate the labor of ordinary lives. The day of the celebration arrived, and anxiety clung to Grace like a shadow, persistent and nagging. She stood in front of the crowd, her heart beating wildly. The park stretched behind her, a symbol of everything they had built together. "Thank you all for being here," she began, her voice shaky, but steadying with every passing second. "This park is not just a place, it's a reflection of what we can achieve as a community. It represents hope, unity, and the power of coming together." Cheers erupted, echoing through the air, but soon were met by a voice from the back. "But how can we trust you? You come from money." The boy stood there, fists clenching. Instinctively, Grace felt the room shift, the joy wavering slightly. "I know," she replied, summoning courage. "I understand your doubts. But trust isn't merely about wealth or status. It's about intention and action. I want to stand among you, not above you." She caught his gaze, and for a moment, everything felt vulnerable yet raw with possibility. Faces in the crowd mirrored hope, uncertainty, and anger all at once. "We are all here, working hand in hand," she continued. Let us shape this together and invite everyone, regardless of their background. If we can unite here, we can tackle anything outside these walls. As she spoke, people began to nod and cheer, sensing the humanity in what she offered. The boy watched, eyes softening. Could they really come together? That's right. Maddie helped bolster the mood, rushing forward. Let us prove that all voices matter, and let us invite everyone to be part of this. Together. Then another voice piped up, and don't forget our lemonade stand over here. Laughter rang out, tension easing, and walls began to lower. Grace smiled. There was a lightness in her heart now, the kind that chased away doubts as people began to gather around in small groups, clinging to the vision that had once seemed so fragile. The day unfolded with smiles and laughter, stories shared and connections made. A tangible sense of unity blossomed. The boy approached Grace again, this time with a softer expression. I didn't think this could work. But you did good.
Thank you.
We did it together, she replied, feeling a sense of acceptance wrap around them both. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink, Grace gazed around the park. Eli ran amongst laughing kids, his joy infectious, like the spirit of the transformed community. In that moment, amidst laughter echoing like music, mingling hope, and the whispers of doubt fading, Grace realized one undeniable truth. True wealth isn't counted in numbers, but in love, in connection, and in the strength of a united community. This was her family, not bound by blood, but by shared struggles and triumphs. And together, they would forge a future not just for the park, but for all of them. As the laughter continued to flow, she knew things would still be challenging. But now, she had the strength of her community, and that was wealth beyond measure. Now, it's your turn. If you felt your heart race in this story, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support for this channel. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and let us dive deeper into new, exclusive stories together. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending below. Your engagement makes all the difference.